We're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore. Hell yes, hell yes, hell yes. We're going to take your AR-15. Hell yes, your AK-47. Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
Oh, hell no.
Hell yes, we're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to Sunday Night Live on the Prepared Mind channel. It is the zoo, and it's going to get wild. We've got YouTube, we've got the preparedmind.club and subscribestar.com. Those are two premium sites, and the preparedmind.club is where you get your preps, folks. Go there, hit the links, get sent off to another website where they'll take care of you. But we've got food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and a means of self-defense. Everything you need right there. Get it because you're going to need it. The stupid, folks, continues. There is some new stuff and there is some strange stuff. There's a lot of different ways that SHTF is happening. And I tell you what, it is happening a lot. An awful lot. And for people who don't see it, I've got to tell you, I've got to ask a certain kind of a question, right? How can you not see it with that shit all over your face? It is hit the fan. Hit the fan. And people are like, I don't see any problem with what's going on. I'm like, really? With this all over your face, you can't see it, smell it, or detect it? You are, sir, as stupid as you look. And I've had those types of conversations. Never quite had that exact phraseology ready for him, but there's plenty of stupid out there, folks. Plenty of it. Now, starting off the show, Chin Music has stepped up with a $55.56 super chat donation via Venmo. And down below is Venmo, CashApp, and PayPal donations. Or you can hit the super chat button right there and you support the show. You get to ask a question. We'll talk about it, and it goes out to thousands of people, folks. Thousands of people. And we'll have hundreds of people live here soon enough. So, to Chin Music, anyone who does a $50 or higher, well, $49.99 super chat donation and higher, buys me also an 18-year Glenlivet single malt whiskey. So Chin Music, here is to you, brother. I hope things are well down on our southern border. Ooh. That is a great start to the show. A great start to the show. Pow. We'll get Chin Music's comments, questions up here, and there it is. And Chin Music is noted for his satire, his sarcasm, his down-to-earth, let's not screw around with the verbiage. And he says, there's a quote, Satan has not yet created a vengeance sufficient for the blood of an innocent child. That came from the Israeli national poet Chaim Nahman Bailik. The choosing of sides is being forced into hyperdrive. And as I look around, the world appears to be in the condition of a torn sail as we navigate into a hurricane seemingly on purpose. John, I'm thankful we are all here so we can gather, pontificate, and support each other on a routine basis. It's really tough being wide awake these days. Thank you for what you provide us in Semper Fi, Prepared Mind family. Strange days indeed. What do you think about 2 carrier groups headed over? That can't be good news. Now, I know precisely what Chin Music is talking about. 2 carrier groups. And keep those comments handy, if you will. The carrier groups he speaks of are United States Navy carrier groups, which involves a carrier, I think a submarine, a couple of frigates, probably a troop support vehicle or vessels. What else? Destroyers. think it's 5 or 6 ships, maybe 7 altogether. That's a carrier group. I don't know anymore because I'm not in the Navy, and I'm not going to sing In the Navy by the Village People either. But we'll talk more about the Village People in a bit. For now, let's stick to this story. So not 1, but 2 carrier groups. Why do we need 2 carrier groups sitting in the Mediterranean close to one another? You see, the idea of a carrier group is that any single carrier group can commence, act aggressively, engage in war. The idea is that we have several carrier groups and they are staged around the world. And each one is sufficient to protect themselves as well as support troops and also air missions. So this is incredible that Joe Biden wants 2 carrier groups offshore in case, 1 million supporters of terrorism and the terrorists that are hiding amongst them get out of hand. We need 2 carrier groups to keep an eye on Palestine. Now, if that's the case, then Israel is 150% correct that they need to go in there and kick the shit out of them. If the United States government, that is the Biden administration, wants 2 carrier groups, the ability to wage war twice, sitting offshore, then they're anticipating something, or perhaps there is something more ominous on the horizon. I do dare to speculate, and I will share because I was going to cover this, except now Chin Music has brought it up in quite an unusual way. And yes, we are here to support one another on this channel. It's not about arguing stupidity. It's not about, this isn't the Bible Jesus channel. Go somewhere else for that, right? We have our own individual spirituality. I encourage that. But beyond that, we're not talking about that. We're talking about what the hell is going on in the world. Period. Right? Period. There is some crazy shit going on. And we need to talk about it. Why 2 carrier groups? Now, I'm going to take you back in history. At one point, there was this thing called the Gulf of Tonkin incident, at which a U.S. warship was reportedly attacked by the North Vietnamese communists. And that was used by the Johnson administration to go into and fight the Vietnam War. Turns out later, the Department of Defense, with the Defense Secretary, Robert McNamara, from that era, said decades later, after the year 2000, that it was staged, it was fake, it was a lie. And then we discovered that in the 60s, not over in Vietnam, but exactly where those carrier ships are now, the USS Liberty, a U.S. Navy warship, was attacked, not by Palestine, not by Syria, nor Jordan, nor Turkey, nor Egypt, nor Libya. It was attacked by the Israelis themselves, and they attempted to sink it and kill all of those Navy men. That's right, folks. The Israeli government attacked our Navy in an effort to draw us into the war to fight on their side, no less. So I am very suspicious with war heating up over in Israel between them and the Hammass Palestinian terrorist groups, supported by the Iranian regime, backed up by who else? Oh, you got it. Turkey. Syria apparently has fired. Is it Syria? Fired a couple of missiles into Israel, so Israel responded. What the fuck are they doing? What business and point is this? They all think they've got something in the game, some reason to do this. They're all itching for a fight, and I think Chin Music talked about that. Folks, if you've got something to say, if you've got an opinion, a theory, a prediction, get it up there. Hit that super chat button. Pow, get your question down on the screen. You can do a $2 donation or a $20 donation, or you can do a $50 or $100 donation. It doesn't matter. You give me a $2 question, I'll give you a $2 answer. You give me a $50 question, comment, statement, you'll get a $50 answer. Now, I'm going to give Chin Music all $55, $56 of what he bought. And brother, you talked a mouthful with that. I think they've got 2 carrier groups because they are going to sink one of them. I know this is a wild, hyperbolous, crazy thing to say, but why 2? When one is more than sufficient to turn all of Syria into a glowing, smoldering, smoking pile of rubble. I think that they want to sink one. I don't know what carrier groups are there because I haven't looked into it. I'm just keeping my little theory between you and me, just us. How much would America want to get into World War III if we learned that thousands of our naval personnel, Marines, pilots, officers enlisted were killed in an attack coming from Iran or coming from Turkey? What if a nuclear weapon is set off amongst the ships and we get a Pearl Harbor style destruction of one of our carrier groups? How pissed off do you think everyone would be? No, my suspicion level is always at a huge high. And right now, incredibly high. I am incredibly suspicious of anything these sons of bitches are doing. Now, before I continue with this idea, I would like you to hit this up there, internet address at the very top of the screen, and click that, copy it, paste it to emails, text, whatever, share it, and then thumbs up. Thumbs up this video to let YouTube know, hey, we got some important things we're discussing here. We got a lot more people can come on live, folks, and they're going to miss this commentary because they showed up late, but they can always rewind it. Tell them to rewind and start at the 10-minute mark. That way they don't miss a thing, as if they've missed anything yet already. They'll tell them to go back to the 5-minute mark while I'm still brushing my teeth on the camera. Now, here's my deal. Is I think that they want to sink a carrier group. Probably the one that's most archaic, old, out of date, half decommissioned. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. We learned that there was a lot of funky stuff going on in the Twin Towers prior to them falling to the ground. Right? Weird shit going on. Hey, that's just conspiracy theory talk. Well, there's a lot of conspiracy facts out there. And I don't want this to become a fact after the case. I think they want to blow one up. I think they want to draw American. I think they want to piss everyone off. Nobody was more willing to go to war, right, than a country that was just attacked. Take a look at the United States. Remember the Maine, when they sunk the Maine. Gulf of Tonkin incident. 9/11, Pearl Harbor. You attack the United States and Americans ask for blood. They do. Like, you took a quart, we demand a gallon. Look out. I don't put anything past any of these people. Folks, Biden should not only be impeached, he should be in prison awaiting the carrying out of the sentence. And I think the sentence should be terminal. This guy is such a traitor, and it's coming out more and more. And to distract that, to hide that, to make himself a wartime president, to hide behind, folks, to hide behind the dead bodies of American patriots, I bet he would do it. It wouldn't surprise me a bit with that fucking clown. And it frightens me to think that they would do that they have the power and authority. I tell you. Anyways, hey, Chin Music, I hope you're okay out there. And thank you for the great super chat donation of $55.56. Thank you for that great scotch. And I'll tell you what, the reason there's 2 carrier groups, I think they want to drag us into a war and they want to destroy a bunch of shit. That satisfies a whole lot of people. Gives Biden the distraction he wants. Pisses off the American people. The military-industrial complex gets to replace those ships. Everyone has to choose sides. If we could, can I put up part 1 of Chin Music's comment there? His question as it started. And we'll roll back through there. He says, Satan has not yet created a vengeance sufficient for the blood of an innocent child. Right? The choosing of sides is being forced into hyperdrive. And the world appears to be in a condition of a torn sail. What is a torn sail, folks? It's supposed to give us direction. Everyone, all the fibers of a sail need to be together, unified, to catch the wind and go in one direction. The correct direction, the moral direction, the right direction. Yet the sail is torn. It's ripped, it's shredded, and the wind hits it and it flares in all directions. So the ship is listless. It wanders about with a torn sail because we're not unified as a country, as a civilization, morally, intellectually. I'm going to give you an example now. Thank you very much. We can take that down, and just much appreciated. What do you want to talk about? Super chat button right up there. Now, I'm going to give you a quote. And you're going to wonder what it's about, but I'll tell you. And it has to do with that. Who are we? What's this country doing? And I've got some serious commentary. Here's the quote. This is only going to make us fight harder. We need to beat them. Is that the Palestinians? Is that Israel? Is that Hammass or Hezbollah? Is that Iran or is that Turkey? Who is that? Folks, that came from a January 6th political prisoner. His name is Dominic Pizzola. I believe United States Marine. And he's in prison, folks. Americans want to condemn Hammass for killing Israelis. And I'm in full support of that idea of defending their country against someone who's promised to kill them and has been good and true to it. Fine. Americans want to condemn Hammass for killing the Israelis. Fine. But what about the innocents in the United States of America? Innocent U.S. protesters who the United States, Washington, D.C. government killed on January 6th and are arresting and holding in prison. And under United Nations rules, folks, they're being abused. Absolutely abused. Tortured is the correct word for it. And according to the United States Constitution, they're being denied due process. They're being denied First Amendment, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth, Seventh, Eighth Amendments, all those amendments. Just add in all of them. Cruel and unusual punishment, due process. Everything. Having their rights stomped on. You're worried about Israel? You're worried about Palestine? How about our own people here? I'm glad that he said, this is only going to make us fight harder. We need to beat them, right? This is what we're up against in our own country. Biden and the Democrats want death for Israelis, folks, and they want to support Hammass. Now, wait a minute there, John. They didn't call for death for Israel. Oh, really? Biden sent $75 million to Hammass, directly to Hammass. This has come out in just the last few days. Where is the impeachment process? Where is it? That alone, treason, sending that much cash to a terror organization. And this, apparently, folks, allegedly, this money was sent knowing that Hammass was planning what has turned out to be a huge terror attack. $75 million. This federal government has to send, folks, over to terrorists, and $6 billion to Iran just before the attacks. $6 billion that they're not taking back, that they're not stopping. Meanwhile, in the United States of America, if you want a home loan, forget it. You're going to pay through the nose in interest rates because of inflation. Why is there inflation? Because the federal government is blowing money left and right, printing money left and right, not giving a shit left and right, and screwing everything up. So they print a bunch of money, inflation goes up, our interest rates go up in an effort to combat that while they give away even more fucking money. And in Washington, D.C., the Republicans want to act all mad at Hammass. Okay, the stupid Democrats don't like Israel. Well, we're going to stand up to Hamas. We're going to stand up to terror, injustice, right? Why don't you stop the terror in Washington, D.C., right here in our own country? Terror against mere protesters. Why the fuck not? How about terror against us, with the United States government calling parents patriots, Make America Great Trump supporters, calling us domestic terrorists? Why aren't you standing up against that? As they go around the country intimidating people, banging on their doors, sending threatening letters, working with and allowing Antifa, BLM, and other groups to harass people and try and destroy them. You want to be mad at Hamas and what they're doing over there, and you're doing jack shit about it here. Why is Christopher Wray not removed from office? Why is he not being charged with criminal actions? Same with Merrick Garland. We have huge injustices here. War crimes, injustice, violations of the Constitution, right here. I just want to say, fix it, you bunch of worthless bastards. What are you doing? Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, the Speaker of the House. We don't have one. So we can't get anything done. We can't continue with the impeachment inquiry because there's no leadership. I tell you, folks, we're in big trouble with these assholes. Big trouble. And it's not going to get better anytime soon because they're weak. Joe Biden, folks, is in bigger trouble now. Bigger trouble. Over what? He's in much bigger trouble because now it looks like this hiding of secret documents, there's a conspiracy to do it. There's a conspiracy to cover it up. And by conspiracy, I don't mean some wild-eyed conspiracy. I mean, they worked together to cover it up, to hide it. Several people in his staff are trying to help hide the facts. That's criminal activity. You can call it conspiracy, or you can just call it criminal. It's criminal. It is a high crime. All right, I'm going to calm the fuck down. Jolene's here, by the way, and Uman is here also with the big blue wrench to keep an eye on things as moderator to make sure everyone's behaving because we have some serious discussion to go through. All right, Jolene, who wants to step up with a super chat donation? Pow! It is Luke Thompson with a $5 super chat. He says, why hasn't gold and silver been doing its job during this time of inflation? Well, Mr. Luke, pardon me. Number one, were you around Friday for what happened with gold and silver? Gold and silver popped. I think silver over 4%. 5%. Gold was fucking 3% up on the day alone. In one day, up 3%. Now, anyone who has gold and silver would like to see that for about, 12 months straight. Now, your question, though, let me address it directly. During this time of inflation, which has been over the course of months and months, silver right now is sitting down at the $22-ish mark. It was all the way up at $30. What, a year ago? Gold was up over 2,100 at the same time frame, and then it got smacked down. How does that happen? Gold and silver was doing its job. What we have is a Treasury Department and the Federal Reserve Bank, which is a private banking system. And they are printing all the money they can, aren't they? Well, there it is. We should have lots of inflation, and we should have gold and silver going nuts. So they have done everything they can. Now, the reason the dollar is so strong, and when the dollar is strong, relatively speaking, gold is weak. The dollar is the prettiest pig in the pig pen compared to other currencies. There is an end game to this, Luke, in my opinion. And I wish I had a bunch of gold, and I wish I had a shit pile of silver, because that would mean that any wealth I had would be protected. You see, they can make it go up, but they can make it go down. The amount of ounces you have doesn't change. If you've got some spare money to put into precious metals to preserve your wealth. If you recall what happened in the 1970s, they took the world off the gold standard. I'm sorry, the United States off the gold standard. The world went on the petrodollar. We had massive inflation in the 70s, and then we had massive interest rates to stop the inflation. Now, interestingly, when they brought the years into this process, the 70s, what happened to gold? It went from $35 an ounce up to $850 an ounce at its peak. Silver went from, I think, $1.50 an ounce up to $50 an ounce. Huge increases. Huge increases. It doesn't happen overnight, because what we have is we have a timeline. There's our timeline. At the beginning, you have inflation and money printing. You have interest rates fluctuating. Something that Nixon did was price controls. No, you're not going to charge more for any one item. Right? They tried using price controls. It's a fine communist trick. They did everything they could to keep everything level, but gold eventually did one of these numbers. Same with silver. It went along struggling, but ultimately their attempts to control the value of silver and gold failed. Now, I think that everybody would like to see whatever investment / preservation they've done with their wealth in the form of platinum, gold, silver, copper, or investing in commodities, period, was to be rewarded for buying and insisting real things have value. But we're going to have to wait till this plays out. Gold and silver did go up huge on Friday for no apparent reason other than I read the headlines and went, what was that about? They can't really fucking say. They just know that the banking system is being crippled by the interest rates. And I live in an area, it's a small geographic area, but it is particularly well protected from real estate shenanigans. In other words, it's gone up in value and has held it, peaked out. But the sales are going and slowing down, and the sales, the amount per house selling is going down because interest rates are going up, so people can't afford to buy as much home. They're doing exactly what they need to do to fuck the whole thing up, Luke. They haven't backed off a bit. They're afraid to death of losing control because we're at that next step. They fucked the monetary system up, Luke. They fucked it up. I'm going to be honest with you. Gold and silver, their true value has been suppressed for 20 years. It started going up like mad, hit about 2012, and they killed it. Once again, silver hit $50. They killed it, brought it back down. Silver tried going up last year. They brought it back down. They cannot have it getting away because it's not just that. I mean, who the fuck cares if gold goes to 10,000 an ounce? If you don't own any ounces, who cares? Who gives a shit, right? I've got my wedding ring. What's in that? A quarter of an ounce of gold or an eighth of an ounce of gold? I'm not going to retire on that, right? So if it goes to $10,000 or $20,000 an ounce, how much gold do we have? Back in 2008, 9, and 10, and 11, guess what? People turned all their gold in that they could because it was so high they were selling it for scrap, selling their gold and silver for scrap. Talk about the people just voluntarily turning in their precious metals. So let me continue. If gold goes up, who cares? It's not helping anyone except a couple of small-time investors out here. It'll help rich people who can afford 100-ounce bars of gold and 1,000-ounce bars of silver. It'll help industrial manufacturers on the silver side. Right? It'll help them if they bought thousands of bars, thousands of 1,000-ounce bars. Oh, wait a minute. I'll dig into news a little bit for you. Guess what? While, Mr. Luke, and you're getting the $50 response on this $5 question, by the way, it's good investment. They have held silver down flat for a while now. years. They have held gold down flat. Well, it's gone up and down a little, like up to 2,100 down. No, we won't have that. Up to 2,100 down again, right? They're doing the best they can to keep it down. Who benefits? Key bono. Okay, number one, how is it done? It's done with price suppression and market manipulation. Did you know that months ago, several JP Morgan banking investment traders were tried, convicted, and sentenced? Jail. Big fine to JP Morgan for spoofing and manipulating the market. I guess someone had to go to jail. So they sent them to jail for fucking the market, doing what they've been allowed to do by the SEC and the SEIC and everyone else, right? Okay, so here we are. They've kept it flat. Who benefits? Okay, so JP Morgan made some money. They got fined a lot less than they made for doing what they did, but they've kept the price flat. Who has been buying it? China, Russia, Turkey, the Czech Republic, the Germans, the French, the English, American government, I don't know. How about Canada? I don't know. Japan? Korea, South Korea? What country? Singapore? Malaysia? India? Ooh, India buys a lot of gold and silver, both government and private. In fact, so what's going on? The biggest buyers, folks, are industrial, buying of silver, and then gold is being bought by central banks. The Central Bank of Europe, right? The ECB, the European Central Bank. They have been buying a shit pile of gold. All of them. Buying all the gold off the market. They're buying it off the exchanges, the COMEX, which is the New York Stock Exchange, gold trading, and then the LBMA, the London Bullion Market Association. They're being cleaned out. They're buying the paper gold, and then they're demanding physical. They're buying the paper silver and demanding physical. They're enriching themselves knowing it's going to go up, Luke. But here we are. Why would they do that? Because they know the monetary system is in deep, deep trouble. The economic and financial system is in deep, deep trouble. So let's just say the dollar's up here and it takes a shit. The stock market's up here and it takes a shit. The price of gold takes a shit and comes down, but it goes right back up. They've been trying to hammer down the metals. They brought it down a little, but they know it's going to rise right back up. Retain its value. It is wealth preservation. Not only that, gold is now a tier 1 asset. Internationally recognized, dollar for dollar, it is worth what it is worth based on market price. Here's some more news for you. Gold is $1,900 in the American market, say. Over in China, guess what they're paying for it? They'll buy your gold for $2,150. I'm sorry, they're $150 an ounce higher than the American and European market. What is that doing? It's creating an arbitrage. They're sending gold. They're buying it for $1,950 here, and they're selling it in China for $150 more. They're making money buying it here and selling it to China. Buying it here and selling it to China. Chinese banks, Chinese corporations, other corporations, international corporations are buying it off that market at that price. They're taking it because they know it's going to go up. We have a serious systemic issue with currency, the economy, and everything is very serious right now, folks. Incredibly serious. It's not just the war stuff. So it was a great topic to bring into this. Who is getting rich off of this? Not me and you. That's for sure. But if I had money to invest in gold and silver, I would. It is, for what it's going to be valued at, it's incredibly cheap. I know some wealthy people, and they are buying gold. They're investing in gold. Silver. They don't give a fuck. They're buying it. They're like, it's cheap. Anyways, let us continue if we shall. Another super chat donation. It is your show. Stone Temple Dave steps in with a 556 super chat donation. Super chat button right up there. 556. One of my favorite things. And this is what Stone Temple Dave said. 17-year-old. I saw Palestine boys throwing rocks at tanks. The Hatfield and McCoys, Hatton killing names, ethnicity now. I'm going to interpret this. Folks, this has been Hatfields and McCoys. This has been a ridiculous system that has developed, whether it's a couple of decades old, a couple of centuries old, thousands of years old. These people in the Middle East, they love to fight. They fight each other. The Sunnis, the Sufis, what other Muslims are there? They fight each other. Though they got the Jews in the area or the Israelis, they may as well be the Jews. To these people, it gives them someone to hate. Anyone has more money than them, more wealth, a better standard of living, supposed better real estate, more goats. It doesn't matter. They're going to hate them. They hate the United States. We're wealthy. They call the United States the Great Satan. Now, the United States government, anyway. But they hate the people. They're a bunch of terrorists. And they would throw rocks at tanks thinking they're going to win. They're that stupid. Hatfields and McCoys, right? Hatfields and McCoys. Basically, third cousins fighting each other. Right? Is this an ethnic war? Is this a religious war? It's just name your human frailty, failure, or mental condition. It's involved in this. I have watched some of the most aggravating videos, Stone Temple, Dave. I've watched them of Palestinian boys talking all kinds of shit and picking on Israelis who are outnumbered. And I've seen some of the most insulting shit or heard the most insulting words coming out of an Israeli's mouth at Palestinians. And I thought, you dumb sons of bitches, both of you, both sides of you are standing on rocks in a desert, barely capable of subsisting a couple of trees. You live in a fucking desert, and you think that they're living on a mountain of gold that they're fighting over. Unbelievable. How much better would they all live if they would do something other than try and fight and blow each other up? Right, the freaking Hammass digging up pipes to turn pipes into missile material. There it is. Stone Temple Dave, thanks for the great super chat donation. And Jolene, who are we going to throw up on the screen next? Oh, it is Stone Temple Dave stepping. What the heck? Stepping up with a $55.60. You know what that calls for? That's right. The old 30 caliber. Woo! And that buys a Glenlivet 18-year single malt Scotch whiskey right there. And we're going to fill that one all the way up to the 30 caliber. I want to thank you. You are putting Spam and tuna fish into the pantry. You're making sure that we keep this show on the air and going. Thank you, sir. Mother's milk makes the joints hurt less and everything else work better. All right. Stone Temple says, warned all. I talked to post-Cold War, returned from Central Germany in 1991, telling the flood of immigration, preferential treatment, now called inclusion, diversity. Oh, and equity as well. So isn't this interesting? Right? Stone Temple Dave was in Europe in the Cold War. Central Germany. Folks, back then, there was East Germany, communist control, West Germany, European Western power control. And there was a flood of immigration, preferential treatment, now called inclusion and diversity. What is going on? Once they got rid of the threat of communism, they had to introduce something new, the New World Order. Back in 1991, who was talking New World Order openly? George H.W. Bush. George W. Bush's daddy. President Bush was Mr. 1,000 Points of Light, New World Order. What we're dealing with today, immigrants out of control in Europe, rioting, demanding that they be given everything under the sun, right? That was decades ago. It started with a trickle, and then it became a floodgate opening of illegals, and it's still happening. Who wants this? Who benefits? Once again, it's a great question to ask. Who benefits? The rich benefit. Government benefits. They create problems left and right, and then they offer their solutions. More government control, more censorship, fewer rights for the people, special privileges for the diversity, equity, and inclusion crowd. Right? Who are the mayors of Europe? Well, they all have funny sounding names, and I don't have any problem with that, except they have funny logic as well. I might even call it fuzzy logic, because it makes no fucking sense. If you try protecting your nation's identity, culture, traditions, you get labeled a Nazi, and you can be thrown in jail for using free speech to describe what it is the government is doing. It is unbelievable what's happening. It truly is. How you can get in trouble for saying words while they don't get in trouble for inviting in millions and millions of anti-Europeans. It's not just that they're non-Europeans, they are anti-Europeans coming from other parts of the world to Europe to destroy it. It is an invasion. And you are a bad person if you oppose your country, your traditions, and culture being destroyed. It's interesting. Stone Temple Dave, watch this at the beginning. He says, he warned all. I talked about it. Immigration preferential treatment. Let me give you a little piece on that. Stone Temple Dave, here we go, right? The Biden regime just this weekend is now threatening banks in the United States of America that if you refuse to give a line of credit, loans to illegal aliens, hey, you're going to be fined. You're going to be shut down. Folks, most Americans cannot pay their bills. They can't get new loans, right? I have an 820 credit score because I don't have any debt, right? And I get offered a credit card at 33% interest. That's with having a track record. I'm a taxpayer. I'm not in debt. I don't fucking owe, right? I do everything right. And I get 33% interest. How much you want to bet that these illegal aliens are going to get credit lines? Well, based on what? They don't have jobs. They're illegal aliens. They don't have jobs. They don't have a career. They don't have a history, a credit history. And they are being told they will be given credit lines. Talk about preferential treatment, Stone Temple Dave. There's an example. People want to go to their hotel. They want to see their family. They planned out a trip. They've made their reservations. They paid their fucking taxes. They paid their dues. They worked their ass off. They get to a town. They go to check into the hotel and they can't get a room. Why not? Because the hotel has illegal aliens in it. And they kick everyone else out to house those illegal aliens. Preferential treatment? You bet, Dave. Preferential treatment. They get free money. They get, $2,200 per person coming across the border? You worked your whole life for Social Security, you get $1,700. These people pay jack shit, have paid back shit because they're not Americans. They're here illegally, yet they get treated as if they're nobility. And these fucking morons will tell us that shit has not hit the fan. They'll smile in glee. There's your typical Democrat, doesn't realize this is going to affect them too. They feel so good about themselves, don't they? Oh, I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed to be in America and have the opportunity to work my ass off and pay taxes because I've virtue signaled and feel so good about being, inclusive of all ethnicities and people who have violated the law to get into this country who are, oh, good God, folks, it's crazy. The gangs are now assembling, by the way, in various parts of the country. The ones that come from Guatemala and Honduras and Venezuela and other Central and South American countries, they're finding each other. they're gathering and they're creating gangs that are now doing home invasion robberies. Home invasion robberies. Now, the town I'm in down south, do I fear that? No. Am I ready for it? Yes. If they want to come here. But other places like Michigan, they're seeing home invasion robberies by these foreign nationals gangs. MS-13, you bet. Other gangs from other countries, you bet. So they're not happy getting free money, lines of credit from banks for having no billing address, no mailing address, no jobs, no history, no nothing. These people are just going to come across the border and get everything for free. Not even understand the rules of the game, but be rewarded like they're royalty. How does this do anything except fuck up our economy, our monetary system, our financial system? That's exactly what it's going to do, folks. Exactly. That's exactly what is intended to happen. Exactly. It is coming. Are you prepared? Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Now, I know a lot of you use the preparedmind.club. The preparedmind.club, you go there and you can get food, water, clothing, shelter, radios, solar. You can go there and get what you need. It's as good as anywhere else, and it's been tested by us to be as good as anyone else's, right? Get the best deal you can, get what you want. I don't have a warehouse. I got a studio. But those people have warehouses full of the things we need because it's going to get nasty. Whether they take out fucking Navy or whether they take us out at home, things are going to get nasty. Probably a little bit of everything. Thank you, Jolene. The preparedmind.club. Right? We don't get rich off of that, folks. What we get is the satisfaction knowing we're providing a service and the money that we get helps pay for what we do here. And that is spread the word. Thumbs up if you haven't done thumbs up. Share that internet address right up there. Tell people to get here and listen to what the hell is happening. Tell them to start at the beginning and listen. We have just begun to talk about all the shit that's going on. Thank you very much again, Mr. Dave. And let's do this. Let's step up into some more super chat donations. You guys have something to talk about it. Let's talk. It's Chin Music. Bam! With another $9.99 super chat donation. He says, how convenient for Uncle Fudge Brain to give Iran $6 billion and all of a sudden, bam, all his malfeasance is off the front page. Funny how that works. Malfeasance? How about high crimes, misdemeanors, and felonies? Good God, the amount of trash that he has done and is in trouble for. How many times have we heard from congressional Republicans? Scalise, Cotton, name them. Congressional Republicans. We got this dirt. We got that dirt. We got the facts. There's a lot more. And they put a little bit out here and a little bit out there and a little more here. And we're like, that's crime. That's crime. That's crime. Get this guy out of office. Why is it taking so long? Well, Kevin McCarthy, Speaker of the House, formerly Speaker of the House, dragging his feet, finally got drug into it, finally said, okay, impeachment inquiry, still kept dragging his feet, still kept jacking around, got removed from office. Now they can't seem to find their way. Someone needs to lead this country, folks. It's not in 1600. It's not at the White House. That is a cesspool of malfeasance. Uncle Fudge Brain. That's a fucking... I tell you. That is just incredible. Uncle Fudge Brain. Thank you, Chin Music. The guy is a criminal. A fucking criminal. Well, does anyone remember that he sexually assaulted Tara Reid? At least that's her complaint that the mainstream media refuses to take up, that the mainstream media refuses to talk about, to ask about, that the Attorney General's office refuses to talk about. There are district attorneys in the jurisdictions where this alleged crime took place that are refusing to look at it. Yet they want to say you are a domestic terrorist. Hillary Clinton wants you, by the way, sent to a re-education camp to get your head right because you don't agree with everything she says. That's right, folks. That's where they want to send you, re-education camp. Are you ready for that? Well, I tell you, here we go. Jolene, who is up next? Thank you, Chin Music. And now it's time for Luke Thompson back with another $5 super chat. And he says, thank you, John. I love every second of your opinion. Luke, you're welcome. It's a great topic. We have a lot of questions. Why is the system broke? And why is the government not trying to fix it instead of making it worse? Because there's so many people in America with this expression on their face. Absolutely unbelievable, folks. Absolutely unbelievable. These are our elected officials. There they are. There's your elected official, a bunch of clowns. Well-dressed, aren't they? Yeah, I see the clown paint. I see the clown clothes. Look at Senator Festerman. Uncle Fester running around in sweatpants and hoodies. That's a senator. Look at Joe Biden, shitbag Biden. The stupid things he's been saying all weekend, getting lost on stage. Dr. Jill helping him off the stage, yelling and screaming at the gays. He dressed the gay people, I guess. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable where these people are taking us. Now, I've got this parody. And Mr. T, I want to thank you for all the great new material you sent through. But take a look at this parody. In fact, I'm waiting for Mr. T to create some new disclaimer parodies for us. I mean, imagine if this was the headline. Hammass attacks Burning Man. The left cheers. Well, wait a moment. Hammass attacked a bunch of peaceful musicians over in Israel, and the left cheered and loves it and said, yeah, yeah, yeah. What if Hammass did attack a bunch of Burning Man people and kill them? What would they think of them then? They were peaceful. Well, they just enjoyed some music and some drugs. Right. They had no right to come over and kill peace-loving people and kids, but they're fine with Hammass attacking peaceful, music-loving people over in the Middle East. They're hypocrites, folks. They're liars, and they're really the people that are supporting all of this shit that's going on out there. They're just fronts. They're nobody. This is all being orchestrated behind the scenes by powerful, high-level people, folks. Powerful, high-level people. But the world is getting torn like that sail that Chin Music referred to. It's being ripped to shreds. Absolutely. Ripped to shreds. I mean, people don't know which side to stand on. Do you remember when you weren't supposed to say anything bad about Israel or the Jewish people or the Jewish religion or anything Jewish? You get called an anti-Semite and you would be destroyed. This is before woke cancel culture. You are not allowed to say anything about Jews or Israel or Jewish religion. None of that because of the Holocaust. That's right. You could not deny the amount of people that they said was killed in the Holocaust. Whether it's 4 million or 6 million or 10 million, you weren't allowed to deny it. You'd be destroyed. Well, now in colleges across America, now around the world, you're supposed to apparently attack these people. In Stanford University, folks, Stanford, California, one of the nation's premier universities. What, medicine, law. Hell, that's where John Elway played football. Stanford University. Well, an instructor there, folks, someone who helps the professor teach, made the Jewish students segregate, made them stand in a corner, and then crapped all over the Holocaust. and called Israel a colonizer. Well, a lot of people have some arguments about the Holocaust. And Israel wasn't a nation before the British, through treaty, made it a nation. But religious and racial segregation, that's illegal in this country. Punishing people, splitting them out, degrading them, that's unconstitutional. That's illegal. Imagine if the teacher took all of the Mexican students or all of the Venezuelan students and stood them off to the side and made fun of them and put them down, segregated them, then punished and degraded them. What would they say? Hey, John, that's just Mexicans and Venezuelans. Who cares, man? Okay, what about blacks? What about American blacks? What if a teacher did that to black students? Segregated them, made fun of them, put them down, denied any of their complaints, right? Accused them of things. Wouldn't be very nice, would it? But now it's okay to do it to Jewish people, whether they're Jewish by religion or Israeli by nationality. There's going to be lawsuits, folks. That's the least of the problems that are going to happen is lawsuits. There's going to be violence in our streets. There will be violence, folks. Now, Iran has directly threatened the United States of America over what is happening with Israel and Palestine, Hammass. And this is what Iran says. Quote, if the scope of the war expands, heavy losses will befall America as well. So what is the scope of the war? That would be the real estate on which it's fought and the number of countries participating. That would be an increase in the scope of the war, would it not? So Iran, who has just received $6 billion in payoff money from Joe Biden in Washington, D.C., has decided to threaten the United States of America. Actually, he's threatening the United States government in Washington, D.C., but you know how it is here. They like to pretend that's all of us because we pay for it because they tax the shit out of us. So when they say heavy losses will befall America as well, you think they're talking about pulling their money out of our economic system? No. They're talking about military destruction. That will befall America. Iran can be turned into a smoldering bed of simmering and sizzling glass. Yet they're going to threaten us this way. I don't think World War III is going to go nuclear, folks. It's a very small chance. It can happen. These fucking idiots out here, right? Thanks, Biden, for giving them $6 billion. This is what they're doing to us. Are you prepared? Do you see it? Do you see all the shit out there? I would think that you do, right? I would think that you do. Because that's what they're giving us. A bunch of shit right to the face, folks. Do you see it? This is what a Republican looks like. When a Republican gets red-pilled, they're like, holy shit, I see it now. Democrat, they think it's fucking great. Look what we've done to America. We fucked it up. Isn't that great? That's what's going on, folks. Those two pictures, thank you, Mr. T, for that. This is the country we're in, folks, and I've just begun. I have so many topics to talk about that have come up just over this weekend. It is not just Iran. It is not just Hammass. It's not just Israel. It's not just Joe Biden. It's the entire Democrat Party, the entire socialist, communist, fascist movement out there that is called globalism. It incorporates and uses elements of fascism, elements of communism, elements of corporate control. They're using what they need wherever possible in every country to get their way. And that is the destruction of America, Canada, European nations. They want to steal our rights as individuals, not just the national, but the individual. In fact, folks, get this. The European regulator of free speech. Like what? There's someone who gets to regulate free speech? Yeah. They're part of the European Union. Well, wait a minute. Fuck the European Union. I thought they weren't supposed to be anything more than monetary and financial authority to help European nations trade equally. It was supposed to be a trade and balance union. Now they want to tell everyone on the planet what to think. Fuck you, European Union. Here's the story. The European Union, through its regulatory mouthpiece, is demanding Elon Musk remove misinformation and illegal content about the Israel-Palestine conflict. They want them to take it off of Twitter X. Who gets to say what is misinformation? Who gets to call something illegal content? It's on the internet. It's free speech. Maybe Elon Musk needs to call his show satire. Maybe he needs to do that. Maybe he needs to do that, right? It's satire. Fuck off, European Union. He needs to do something. I'm telling you, folks, he needs to do something. What a world. What a world. Let's do this. Let's step over to you guys. I'm starting to hog the show. I'm starting to talk about everything. It is your show after all. It's Sunday Night Live. Hit that super chat button up there. You can talk about what you want to talk about. It's your show to direct. We're over 400 people live right now, folks. By the time this video is done, it will have been watched by thousands of people. People come, people go, people learn. And you, by sharing that internet address, make it happen. Red pill your best friends. Red pill your mother. Red pill everybody. And this will be the look on their face. Right there. That'll be the look. Holy shit. All right, let's do this. Super chat donation. Who is up next? It is Carlos Granados with 223 Mexican pesos. Thank you, Carlos. You are the man. And he says, hey, John, funny that Netanyahu, who was in a cesspool of trouble with pending charges and needed a crisis to invoke emergency powers and become Emperor Netanyahu, a.k.a. King Bibi is his other nickname, and the intel agency made some failures. It reminds me of 2001 again. Now, folks, Carlos Granados is not just a nobody guy from Mexico. He's not a dumbass. Just like you and me, he's been watching what goes on for a long, long time. One of these days, we need to have a Prepared Mind meetup. I need someone to donate a 50-foot yacht, and I'll sail around the world and visit people. Not going to happen. All right, nice try, John. But I will say this. I have been invited to leave America to other places of the world. People have invited me to leave. They're like, get the fuck out of there. Come over here. Stay a while. See what you think of it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I got to stay here. This is where the fight is. Now, what is Carlos talking about? The intel failures remind me of 2001 again, and that there was a cesspool of trouble. Well, let's go back to 2001. Early September. The federal government is having to answer for missing money at the Pentagon. A seemingly awful disaster back then. By today's standards, is who cares? Not when Biden is throwing around $100 million at a small, fruity little warlord named Zelensky so he can fight the Russians on behalf of all those who are screwing over Ukraine. Complicated story. So back in 2001, they were missing a paltry $2 trillion. The Pentagon lost $2 trillion. Where is it? They couldn't account for it. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld was like, well, there's an investigation going on at the Pentagon to discover where that money went. And we don't know yet. We don't know. 9/11 happened. September 11th, 2001. One of the jets managed to perform an incredible move, an aeronautical masterpiece that all the astronauts and pilots around the world would have been applauding if it hadn't been so destructive. This airplane hit the Pentagon and hit the exact office building portion where this investigation was going, looking for the $2 trillion that were missing. Ooh, the evidence and the supporting documentation for what happened to it went up in flames. Gone, toast. What an amazing coincidence. What an amazing coincidence. Intel agency failure. Well, yeah, so in Israel, Netanyahu, King Bibi, who Carlos is calling Netanyahu, yeah, a few weeks ago, Netanyahu was in a cesspool of trouble. They were looking at, folks, the Israeli government, a potential coup d'etat, an overthrow of the government. Serious, what do we call that? Oh, yeah, protesting against the government over the illegality, the fuckery. And now we're supposed to jump behind and support the Israelis because Hammass has been allowed. I mean, Hammass has attacked Israel. And yeah, we heard that the military intelligence known as Mossad knew about it. But still, this was allowed to happen. They didn't have the money with Hammass. And so funny, Joe Biden gives them $75 million and gives $6 billion to Iran, who immediately comes out and says, we support and stand by Palestine. And now the leader of Israel is being held up as on high, Netanyahu, right? Love that guy. So you're supporting one side or the other based on an emotional reaction to a violent attack. But when you examine both sides of it, you see that both sides are benefiting. Netanyahu and his regime are benefiting. And over on the Hamas Palestine side, they're benefiting by the support of their supporters, including idiotic American students who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And who suffers? Who pays the price? Well, the taxpayer pays, and the innocents are slaughtered in order to make all of this play out. Unbelievable what's happening and how it's happening and how we're all supposed to pick a side and hate everybody or hate the other side or hate nobody and just be confused. Shit has hit the fan, folks. Biden was asked this. Thank you, Carlos Granados, for all those pesos. Folks, I would go live in Mexico, but I'm an American. And I would go live in Mexico, except I'd probably be robbed on a daily basis. Folks, I've met some of the fucking greatest people on this planet from all over the world. I love Mexicans. I love Mexican food, as long as it's not too damn hot. They have some of the most beautiful beaches and resorts in the world, but it's fucking Mexico, right? So, it's just a weird thing. Some areas are really Americanized, and then other areas, not so much. You got the whole drug lord thing there, the corrupt government. Don't worry, America will be there in just a few short months. Anyways, let's do this. Let's do a super chat donation. Jolene, who wants to be up next? It is Chin Music with another super chat donation, $4.99. I can't believe he's... Okay, this is what Chin Music says. Things are so backward that the Babylon Bee has become our nation's most accurate news source. Now, they are so ass backwards. Babylon Bee, folks, is like The Onion, is like National Lampoons. They completely get things backwards, screwed up. It's the biggest joke satire website ever. They put up the most asinine stories or explanations of how things happened. But I think Chin Music is correct. They actually look and sound like they know what they're talking about, because their jokes are a more plausible explanation for what is going on in the world than the actual news, than actual politicians who want to come out and talk to us. I recommend looking up Babylon Bee, Babylon, and then the word Bee, Bee, Babylon Bee. Look up the on Google, Yahoo, whatever, Bing. Look that shit up and look up pictures, and you should see a bunch of parodies. Go on YouTube or name your social media site and look up Babylon Bee. I'm sure they get yanked off of Facebook all the time, but Rumble should have it. You know, it's a pretty free site, all things considered. You can look on Twitter X. There ought to be a lot of Babylon Bee. It's actually true. It actually makes more sense when you look at their jokes and satire, which is why I think we've done so well here with our joke and satire. None of this is real. It's just a big fucking joke. It's just a big joke, right? I used to have that. In my repertoire of video material. But instead, I'm rather than calling everything a joke because it is such a precarious situation we're in, instead I like to talk about how damaging our government is to us with its censorship.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
Successful. They're controlling everything we see and hear. So much so that it is only comedians and jokers that you'll get the truth from. Good golly, that's where we are at. If you've got something you want to say, if you've got a prediction, prognostication, a thought, a concern, anything that's going on, super chat donation right there. All right. Mr. Uman has something to say. Let's take a look at it. Thank you, Mr. Uman. Another celebrity has passed away. This time it is Suzanne Summers, age 76. A beauty, a tall, blonde, buxom beauty who came from a time in American entertainment when things weren't so crazy and screwy and stupid. Anyways, yep, sad news. Suzanne Summers has passed away. What can a guy say? Watch Three's Company and you'll understand. As a young man going, woo, wow, how about that? So that's what real women look like, huh? No, today, that's not what women look like, folks. Today, women look like 6'2" fat men wearing makeup. For example, there is a University of Wyoming trans woman. It's actually a guy, folks, has a penis and balls, but calls himself a woman. 6'2" fat tranny fruitcake. Well, he joined a sorority, folks, at the University of Wyoming, and he began getting caught staring at the other women, undressing, right, and getting an erection. That's right, folks. These are the people. They can't really get girlfriends because they're a bunch of nerdy idiots, a bunch of fruitcake perverts. That's not what women look like, folks. They used to look like Suzanne Summers. Now they look like oversized fat men who grow their hair long and wear makeup. And get this, a judge, the women of the sorority, the students, tried suing so that only women could be in a sorority. The judge threw it out. The judge allowed the tranny fruitcake who stares at the other girls while they're getting undressed. He tossed out the case. Women are now sexual targets for nerds with needs. And I really think we should thank the LGBTQ freaks out there for turning our world into that. I guess that's the only way these nerds, folks. It used to be fine. Hey, you want to see what a woman looks like? Just watch TV. There's Suzanne Summers, blonde. There it is. No. They want to be in the sorority. Now remember Revenge of the Nerds, the movie, early 80s? Right? They snuck to a school, snuck to a sorority, and put surveillance cameras so they could watch naked girls. Now, back then, it was funny because there was a movie premise to it. Now, there's no Revenge of the Nerds. It's just these sick, perverted freaks destroying America. And women, they think these trannies are cool, huh? How cool are they now? They're taking over women's sports. They're completely just awful. I'm not even going to get into it at this. It is Sunday Night Live, and there's a lot more, I think, important things to discuss. But yeah, the fruitcakes are still out there, folks. They haven't done. And thank you, man, for letting everyone know that Suzanne Summers has passed. A beautiful blonde icon, a heartthrob for a lot of men. But her passing, I think, marks another piece of the old America that is dying away as this new America, this disgusting America, is being heaped on our heads. Let me give you a little taste of it. Biden has been asked about the United States being involved in multiple wars and multiple arenas of war. Like Taiwan and China, North Korea, South Korea, Japan, Ukraine and Russia, Israel versus everyone, Israel versus Palestine, Hammass, Israel versus Hezbollah, Iran, Israel versus Syria and Turkey and Egypt and Libya and every other Islamic theocratic government. He was asked about multiple wars in the United States being able to handle it all. And he said, hey, quote, "We're the United States of America, for God's sake, the most powerful nation in the history of the world." How was that an answer? And if we are the most powerful nation in the history of the world, we're America, for God's sake, then why did the United States military abandon Afghanistan and arm the remaining terrorist Taliban and create basically another first world nation military by giving them $85 billion in equipment and munitions? Hey, is anyone going to ask him that fucking question? We're the United States of America. What does that mean? As we're being invaded at the southern border by drug cartels. Oh, you're going to love this, folks. A fucking drug runner. Smuggling drugs into the country. Right? Is getting caught, decides to run from police. Causes a major car accident, kills 3 people at the port of entry in El Paso. Thanks, Biden. Now understand this, folks. Port of entry. How can a crossing of the border on dry desert land in El Paso, how is that a port of entry? How is that a port? Kind of complicated. It's a bunch of shit. Everything is a war zone to these people. Everything is under admiralty law. Not the Constitution, folks. Not common law. They want admiralty law. Admiralty, like Navy. That's why it's a port. There's no fucking water there. But we're under admiralty law. The law of war. Not common law. Not the constitutional law. Not our American flag, but rather a flag of war. We're under it right now. Shit has hit the fan, folks. And they're letting these people in. They try and catch one, arrest one, what? To make some cute headlines? The guy fucking runs and kills 3 people. Is Biden responsible? Oh, no. It's just his policy. He didn't kill anyone. Used to be that when you're in charge and something goes wrong under you, you're responsible for it. You know, like FBI Director Christopher Wray. Is he responsible for anything in this country? Apparently not. By the way, we have cleared 400 people live and have been live with over 400 people for over an hour now. 422. Hit that super chat if you got a question. Hit that URL at the top and share it with others. Hit the thumbs up button, right? Make sure you're subscribed also. We got a lot to talk about, folks, and it's just going to get nastier. Now, back to FBI Director Christopher Wray. He has issued a grave warning, not just a regular warning, not the common warning, not the kind of warning, a grave warning. Because there is an imminent terror attack on American soil that is possible now because of the Israeli-Hammass conflict. Would you like me to get into that detail? Why is that there? How does that exist? Well, they've invited in a bunch of terrorists, and they're here. They have. Now, just a few minutes ago, it was brought up that King Bibi, by Carlos Granados, was in political peril in his country. And then all of a sudden, we have a terror attack, and he's off the hook. Well, so far, that getting him off the hook has also gotten Biden off the hook. Where is the impeachment inquiry? Where's the impeachment system at? Why isn't he being impeached right now? Why aren't they just voting on it? The information is there. Put it in a fucking catalog book at the front of Congress, have everyone walk up and flip through it and go, yeah, yes or no, and go vote. That's it. All of his crimes, all of his failures, all of his misdemeanors, all of his everything right there in the book. There's no need to fucking debate it. It is evidence on file. Witness testimony, bank accounts, Hunter's laptop, Joe's admission in public to withholding funds unless the investigation against his son was pulled off. Stopped. Let my son go or I won't give you the money from the American taxpayer. All his crimes are right there, including abandoning American citizens in Afghanistan to their death. Vote on it. Get him out of fucking office. At least send it on, refer it to the Senate for trial. And then let the Senate show America what a bunch of sellouts and liars they are. Anyways, what if they start getting to what I just suggested they do? Impeachment talk, impeachment talk, impeachment talk. What if it starts ratcheting back up again? Well, we could have on American soil exactly what Christopher Wray is talking about. He has now issued a grave warning of imminent terror attacks by these Palestinian Hamas terrorists. So is he blaming us? Is he blaming Republicans in Congress? That is he threatening them that if you guys impeach Biden, then we're going to have a terror attack on our soil? It's funny how the FBQTI, the FBI, blames, hey, why not blame Trump supporters, right? If you're a Trump supporter and you want Biden impeached for all his crimes, then, hey, we're going to have a terror attack. We'll be blamed for it. The FBI calls you and me terrorists. But now they're saying, hey, we got other terrorists here too. Funny how this always comes up, doesn't it? Anytime they need a distraction, it just magically happens to make sure that the government isn't held accountable. Let's do this. Let's do one of your super chat donations, one of your comments, your thoughts. Who is up next, Jolene? It is Mr. Skylight. And I want to thank you, Mr. Skylight, for all your great support right here on the channel, as well as behind the scenes, helping me follow what's happening around the world. And many of you are part of that. And I want to thank you guys for keeping me up to date, but not burying me too badly. Now, Mr. Skylight says, I will not use someone's pronouns for the same reason I will not talk to a schizophrenic's imaginary friends. True. I don't have to accept a mentally ill person's belief system and pretend like it's fine, it's normal, that it's reality. The same way I don't have to accept Joe Biden and the Democrat Party's interpretation of what is going on in the world, that you must accept all of these LGBTQ plus people. I don't have to accept them and their way of life as normal. It's disgusting. I won't watch regular television because of all of the fruitcakes on TV and wanting to show. No, done. All of the fruit salad drag queens out there. No, I'm not going to support that. It's not normal. It is completely unnormal. The same way all of the lies coming out of Washington are abnormal. They're lies. I don't have to believe them. I don't have to accept it. I don't have to pretend it. The same way with everything that happened with Cerveza bug. I don't have to accept it. I don't have to believe it because it is not supported by the science. The science couldn't make up its mind over mask yes, mask no, mask yes, mask no. It's airborne, it's not airborne. You're going to get it and die. No, it's not that bad. Get the Jim Jones juice. You'll be fine. Oh, no, all of a sudden Jim Jones juice means you're more susceptible to it, but it'll be less severe. Oh, really? How does that make a lick of fucking sense? You're more susceptible to getting the Cerveza bug, but it'll be less severe. Based on what? Based on none of it, right? No science available. This is the shit that they're giving us, folks. And we're supposed to just lap it up. Just eat it up. It's unbelievable. Yet, this is the world we live in. And I'm reminded of it every single day. Mr. Skylight, $19.99 super chat donation. Thank you, sir. I'm not going to use someone else's logic or reason because it's not logic nor reason. It is insanity to support what they're saying. Leaving the border open is insanity. The people that are coming across are dangerous. And we have down on the border Chin Music, who has reported time and again to me and us. Everything your worst fears are happening right now. They're destroying the border cities. They're overrunning them. They're overrunning New York City and Chicago now, and they're 1,000 miles away from the border or more. So how do you think those border towns are doing? I got a message the other day from one of our show longtime subscribers. And I was told that a woman in a mountain community, a rural mountain Republican community, everyone wears guns. Well, a young woman at a store who is rather attractive, feminine, didn't have a gun and was gunned down, shot, killed, murdered. They will find easy targets, folks, and they'll kill you. Period. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that time, folks, in our lives where, what do we do? Right? Do you run? Do you stand your ground? Do you avoid all people, or do you go out and act normal? See, terror wants you scared to death and afraid to come out. I'm not going to do that. And you'll see in the next couple of weeks, if you have anything to do with the Prepared Mind and associated content channels, I was not going to cower this weekend. I wasn't going to hide. And I didn't, right? I'm not going to use their pronouns because they're a bunch of ridiculous fruitcakes. And I'm glad you, Mr. Skylight, won't use them either. I don't see their imaginary friends, and they don't see our very real trouble we're in. And it's incredible to me, folks, that they know what they're doing. They're allowing people in. They're doing all these things that are destroying America. And somehow they think it's good. Unbelievable. Sickening, actually. Sickening. Thank you, Mr. Skylight. Who is next? Super chat donation. And it is Boomer21 out of Canada with a $20 super chat donation. And he has this question to ask. I wonder, will the newcomers in their sleeper cells continue to be able to coexist with all of their newfound college supporters here in the West? Oh, what a question. Because I have an answer for you, man. All right. So the newcomers in their sleeper cells, who is Boomer referring to? Let's see. How about drug lords from south of the border? How about gangs from south of the border, unassociated with the drug lords? How about Islamic jihadis who are coming across the border in groups, in cells, sneaking across or just walking across in broad daylight, being allowed in, hell, being handed money by the federal government? Are they going to be able to coexist with a bunch of rich, effete, snobby, spoiled brat, millennial and centennial or Generation Z bastards in college, right? A bunch of white snobs coming from upper middle class and upper class parents who go to college, right? And got their fingers so far up their nose just to hold it as high as they can, thinking they're better than you. They think, well, I'm pro-Palestine, so the terrorists are going to love me. Right? I'm anti-America, so the terrorists are going to love me. I'm pro-socialist, so the terrorists are going to love me. Do you think the terrorists, do you think the drug lords, do you think the South American and Central American gangs that are forming up, do you think they're going to give a shit about these college kids or Antifa, which is another group of idiotic college kids? Or how about this Black Lives Matter, another group comprised of angry blacks and persons of color, as well as idiotic college students who think that by virtue signaling and saying, I'm all for this movement, like that's going to fucking matter? Every one of the groups I just mentioned are muscle and cannon fodder. They're all being sent around the world to die for a cause that they're not going to benefit from, nor will they see. My prediction is they're sent here to cause civil unrest and partisan conflict, and that they are all expendable, ultimately expendable by the U.S. government, which is going to become an instrument, if it has not already become the total instrument of the globalists, the people who really have power, the ones who, folks, finance Iran and finance Hammass and finance Hezbollah, and they finance countries through their banks. Talking about the World Economic Forum, the central banks, the Bank of International Settlements, the Federal Reserve Bank, private banks, mega corporations that can cripple an economy by coming and going. They can shut down production and cripple the economy of Mexico, folks, in like 5 days or less. They can just cripple them. What do you think would happen if Ford and General Motors? How about Apple Computers? What do they have in Mexico? What do they have in China? What do they have around the world? They could just stop production, dry up the money. Guess what happens? Those countries suffer. They have to play along or they're done. They have to play along. This is way bigger than Palestine. Do you think the people in charge give a fuck about the Palestinian people? They are using them as muscle to create conflict of a military fashion in Israel, to segregate the world's population into two parties. You either hate the Israelis or you hate the Palestinians and terrorists. I don't like terrorists because they kill innocent people. I don't like globalists because they kill innocent people by using their surrogates folks, you've got to think, in my opinion, this is what I do. You think whatever the fuck you want. I think above all of this, it is not the Republicans and Democrats. One side wins or the other. It's how much are both parties being controlled in order to screw us over, to give us hope that we're going to win this battle in Washington, when most of the Republican Party are a bunch of fucking sellouts, along with all of the Democrats who are a bunch of fucking sellouts. You want to believe that Robert Kennedy Jr., RFK, is about free speech and free this and free that? Well, he's anti Jim Jones juice, but he is anti-free speech. Well, he wants his free speech, but not yours. See, every last one of them, folks, wants to fuck you over, but make you feel good about the fight you're in. The fight that I'm in is to get everyone prepared as possible. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Understand we're all being played against each other. Imagine if you want freedom and liberty in your country, but you hate another person in this country who also wants freedom and liberty. It's because you've been pit against each other. North versus south, east versus west. Those of us who want freedom and liberty, folks, we're everywhere, yet we're told those guys over there are bad. Those stupid people in the south, those dumb bastards on the west coast. You think the people of China love the chairman? No, a bunch of them hate the Chinese military government. What choice do they have? Well, continue to slave away for their masters or be shot. How many people, folks, that you think are Muslim really, really love their leadership? Either the theocratic or religious government or the militant killers, the terror groups. There's a bunch. There's a bunch of Muslims out there that just want to be good fucking people. And they're like, well, that's my religion and I'm a good person. They abide by the golden rule. There's lots of them. There's a lot of goat herders out there who couldn't give a fuck. Yet we're supposed to be hating every last one of them, or every last Jew, or every last Catholic, or every last, you name it. That's what they're doing, is they're trying to split us up and make us hate each other and attack each other, right? Israel today bombed Syria because 2 rockets were launched from Syria into Israel. Why the fuck is Syria getting involved? Aren't they already in the middle of a disgusting, brutal civil war, and Christians are being slaughtered by Islamic Kurdish warriors? And America's in there fucking around, and Russia's in there, and Turkey's in there fucking around, and we get to all pay the price, folks. Happy Sunday. Why is Syria trying to get involved? I mean, I'm glad I'm not over there. I could right now, folks, be in a third world country, at the RMZ, in a Pacific island, somewhere, just hiding, just getting saying, fuck it, get away. I want to be here, and I want people to wake the fuck up, and I want them to get ready, because we have a historical moment in human history coming where the world gets to decide if they're going to submit and be just terrorized by our own governments. 1984, folks, the book 1984 has not 2 countries or systems fighting, but 3. 3 sides to a fight. So this one's your ally, but you hate this one. No, wait a minute, you need this one over here while you hate that one. But inside your own country. One second. I do not know if we're good or not. We've lost our monitors. Wonder how that happened. I'm guessing you're all still here. Oh, look at that. Everything looks good. Thank you, Jolene. There we are. Yeah, the monitor manufacturer decided to change their behind-the-scenes screen display, so they just shut off my smart monitor. How fucking brilliant is that? All right. This is what they're doing. They want us all pitted against each other, afraid of our own government, who will punish us if we don't behave and do what it wants, which is to hate everyone else. Right now, they're busy doing that, figuring out which country is going to be on what side, and what people are going to dominate what country and system. Wow, what a shithole. All right, let's do this. Do we have more? What is going on? Who is up next? Absolutely, who is up next? I'm up next. Thank you, Jolene. Get this. This is how fucking stupid they are and how they think you are stupid. Are you stupid? No. Are you going to get prepared? Yes. And by the way, with that thumbs up, hit the thumbs up down below and use that URL, that internet address, share it. You're going to love this, folks. Biden, this weekend, George Dum Biden. He's not really George. He's Joe. But he's made of George. George Biden. George Biden wishes George Floyd. Remember St. George Floyd? Biden wishes George Floyd a happy 50th birthday. Why the fuck is Joe Biden wishing George Floyd a happy 50th birthday? Well, he thinks that because his polling is down with the Black American voter, that he needs to say something to get some support from them. Black voters don't like, nobody likes Joe Biden. Nobody likes him. So he thinks wishing George Floyd a happy 50th is going to make that number magically be fixed. What do you think of that? Super chat button right there. What do you think of that? How about this? Instead of just wishing George Floyd a happy 50th birthday, maybe President Joe Biden can tour prisons and wish happy birthday to black felons like George Floyd while they're still alive. And while he's at it, why not wish happy birthday to all of the white and Hispanic felons as well? Biden could do photo ops, wishing happy birthday to murderers. Remember, it was George Floyd who held a gun to the belly of a pregnant woman while he was doing a home invasion robbery and stealing her car. That George Floyd, happy 50th birthday, George Floyd, you fucking felon, you scumbag. We sure miss you, George Floyd. Felony crimes just aren't the same without you committing them all the time. Now, why would you wish happy birthday to someone like George Floyd? He is not a hero. He's not a role model. He's a criminal, sadly. And there are black criminals and Hispanic criminals and Native American criminals and lots of white criminals from around the world. But he wants to wish George Floyd a happy birthday. That's how fucked up these people are. He's trying to win votes here and piss everyone else off, right? Joe Biden, he couldn't help himself this weekend. He asked this question: who in God's name needs a weapon with 100 rounds in their chamber? No gun holds 100 rounds in the chamber. They hold 100 rounds in the magazine. The chamber is where one bullet goes in to be fired. But let's just answer his question as if he knew what the fuck he was talking about. Who in God's name needs a weapon with 100 rounds? This is amazing. Please listen. Who in God's name needs a weapon with 100 rounds in the chamber? The weapon is only meant for one thing, to kill people. That's the Biden quote. The weapon is only meant for one thing, to kill people. Is he right? Is he accurate in his statement? The weapon is only meant for one thing, to kill people. Actually, he's wrong. Believe it or not, Joe Biden is wrong. Your rights matter, but he wants to take your rights. Let's see. The weapon can be used for hunting, for sport. 100 rounds stops more than just one deer or one duck or one criminal. It stops home invasion robberies and murders by gangs. like George Floyd. Let's see, multiple, high capacity magazines. Well, those are used for stopping mass murder shooters. 100 rounds stops gang attacks happening now from immigrants that are in this country. 100 rounds stops left-wing militant groups who threaten to take over states, cities, areas, who challenge other people to come out and fight them. If there was ever a fight, that's who 100 rounds are meant for. They're meant to stop Antifa attacks, flash mob robberies and lootings, and gang-style rapes. 100-round magazines are for BLM attacks and much, much more, including invasions from drug cartels and other militaries. That's who the 100 rounds are for, Joe Biden. When you ask who in God's name needs a weapon, me, all of America, in God's name. Does Joe Biden know God's name? I doubt it. I really doubt that he understands who God is. Folks, the terrorists are amongst us. There are politicians. But the politicians, folks, will not attack us. They have their military and police to protect them, and they're bringing in muscle from out of the country. Not just into America, but it's all around the world. In France, guess what? France has one of the most popular, amazing museums in the world. I have never been to France that I know of, that I can recall, that I'm allowed to say, but I would love to have gone to Paris and gone to see Le Louvre. It's supposed to take 3 days, at least 3 days, to properly see everything in Le Louvre, the museum there, paintings, statues, works of art, etc. France is now on high alert because there have been bomb threats against Le Louvre and the Palace of Versailles. Palace of Versailles, another beautiful place. Folks, terrorists attack the innocent and they attack the undefended. They attack weakness. How can a museum like Le Louvre or the Palace of Versailles or any other place in France or Spain or Portugal or Italy or Germany or England, how can they attack it? How is that the enemy? You see, terrorists aren't interested in fighting an enemy. They're interested in terrorizing people to produce a political result. When a terrorist attacks a country, whether they kill innocent people or go after a building like Le Louvre, what are they doing? They're trying to get the government to fight them or give them what they want. So if the government gives in, now the terrorists have more rights and privileges for the people that they think deserve them, like illegal immigrants in France. The terrorists will make demands. Give us what we want or we're going to destroy things. So the people are scared and they give the government more authority and say, government, please protect us. We give up our right to privacy, our right to free speech, our right to protect ourselves, because we want you to disarm the bad guys. The government never disarms the bad guys. The government only disarms the people, takes away their rights of self-defense. Oh, by the way, the jackass who is going after free speech with Elon Musk is French. And he says, prove that you are doing your job right. Folks, in French law, the fucking idiots say the government is always right and you have to prove your innocence. In our world, you're supposed to say, no. You prove I'm guilty. The government doesn't have the right to assume anything and convict on it. But the jackass going after Elon Musk is not English or has that type of philosophy. He has the other one, which is the government's always right and you have to prove your innocence. Terrorists, folks, terrorists will always demand what they want and then make you provide it. This is the world we're in now. Is there any doubt? I want to thank you guys. This has been one hell of a show. Over 400 people live nearly the whole time. The whole time. In France anyone who wants to support Hamas is going to be deported. They're now getting bomb threats for it. The French government tries protecting the people, its integrity. It tries protecting its culture and saying, if you support that type of shit, you're out. So what happens? They get more threats. Well, wait till the government of France decides to give in. Imagine what's going to happen then. Once the terrorists start getting what they want, guess what? They'll demand even more. Now, a poll came out and said people who support Palestinians, or rather, let me rephrase all of this, how this is being reported. 68 to 89% of Palestinians support terror attacks on Israel. Isn't that great to know? 9 out of 10 Palestinians support terror attacks on Israel. I mean, as low as 7, but probably 9. Why don't we just make it a nice round? 4 out of 5 Palestinians want to destroy all of Israel. So in response to that, the Democrats in the United States of America at the federal level in Congress, and I'm sure the same extends to all the fucking bureaucracies, they want to bring in 1 million Palestinians to the United States of America. How does that make a lick of fucking sense? It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. Do you want more Palestinians brought here? They support terror attacks against whoever they say their enemy is. See, that's what needs to be understood, is whoever their enemy is. Today, it's the Israelis. Tomorrow, it's white people. It's the Americans. It's the French. It's the English. They hate everybody. Everybody that opposes them, they decide that they're going to attack. So the answer to this Democrats wanting to bring in 1 million Palestinians is no, no, and fuck no. Seriously, no. Well, fortunately, the Republicans in Congress at this point, very much like the French who are saying, you know what, you want to support Hamas, you're out. The Republicans in Congress are trying to put a bill through. We're not allowing any Palestinians into this country from this point forward because they do support terror, because they are making threats. What side do you stand on, folks? Once again, I'm gonna bring it up. I am against terrorism. I'm against destroying innocents, and I'm against destroying a culture, a country, its laws, and its constitution based on any of these radical ideas that are either going to directly or indirectly take our rights. They're going to use violence and terror to take your rights. If you don't agree with them taking that, then they'll allow violence and terror to come, which appears to be what's happening. And they're taking us to war, whether we like it or not. Once again, my friend that is from a small island nation in the Pacific says that his island has 2 new bases put on it to get ready for the Chinese invasion of Taiwan. The Marines I talked to on Marine base said, hey, we're putting Marines out there and we're arming the shit out of the islands in the Pacific for the fight against China. They're planning all of this well ahead of time. They're bringing people into this country. They're dividing this country because they want the violence so they can get more control, so that we give up our rights to give government more control to please return our country to a state of safety. That's not the purpose. They want to return our country to the tyrants from whom it was taken back in 1776. They're intentionally, folks, targeting all of us. And speaking of that, they have documentation that was collected, that's been disseminated, distributed, that shows Hamas intentionally went after elementary schools and youth centers. Hamas said, no, we didn't do that. Well, they have the documentation. We know what's going on, folks. There's not a war that's being fought. This is political murder. Terrorism is political murder, period. They want their way politically, and they will murder people until they get it. That's what terrorism does. They aren't brave enough to fight a war. Just like governments are not brave enough to fight their own people. They bring in terrorists. They use their terrorist politicians to try and take our rights from us. I don't mind saying that. Look what the government is doing. What does Mad Maxine Waters say? What does Cori Bush say? What does AOC say? What does Chuck Schumer say? What does Hillary Clinton say? What does Nancy Pelosi say? What does John Fetterman say? What does Joe Biden say? What does Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro, Obama say? What are the words they use? What does the media say? What does cute little Katie Couric say? What does MSNBC say? What do all these people say? Whether it's the politicians.
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against...
There are public figures today, yesterday, and the day before predicting and all but calling for mass violence and rioting in the streets.
Obviously, Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy,
Enough. Whether it's political candidates, political elected officials, or the media, they are here to try and take our rights and destroy our freedoms. That's what they are. Are you prepared? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Those are people in charge with authority who can help others. And what are they doing? They're taking their rights. We're proposing to take our rights. While they invite the enemy in. They're inviting the enemy into this country right now at the southern border. People from all over the world that hate you. Are you prepared? They're talking about taking your rights right up front. Are you prepared? The mainstream media is trying to convince your neighbors to hate you. Are you prepared? They're going after our enemies around the world and inciting them to violence. Are you prepared? They're turning kids against parents. They're turning our nation's government, our state governments against the people. Are you prepared? We have the documentation. It's out there. Why isn't Biden being impeached? Are you prepared? We're having our money taken from us. We're being threatened by the very people that money went to, including Zelensky. We've given him, $125 billion? Not we, but the federal government, Joe Biden. And he turns around and says, well, if you don't keep giving me money, then guess what? Your sons and daughters are going to be fighting the Russians. Are you prepared for this shit? Do you see what's coming on? I mean, it's funny. They're starting to attack each other, right? There was one journalist talking to another journalist on mainstream media, and one was going on and on and on about some anti-Israel shit. It was a show on talk show from The Hill, and Brianna Joy Gray was just going off, and folks, the male there, Robbie Soave, I guess is his name. He's a libertarian. He says, look, I don't give a fuck, right? He went off on her. It's just, they're pitting us against each other, and it's getting to blows, right? All of the anti-Israel, all of the hate, all of the violence they're prescribing, they're excusing away. People are getting violently upset with one another. Are you prepared? I want to say this. I want to say thank you to all of you for coming here tonight, spending a couple hours on the Prepared Mind channel, helping other people find the message. The message is get prepared. I can't tell you what side to support. I can just tell you, you are at risk. You're in danger. You get to decide who is right, who is wrong, what is right, what is not. Wow. Folks, I'll be back tomorrow morning, 0 dark 30, and we'll discuss what is going on. What continues, where and what is happening next. But no matter what the situation, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, and means of self-defense. My message is what is going to help you, whether it's an asteroid attack or an alien attack, whether it's war with another country or war within our country. All right, being prepared is how you get through it. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed. Semper Fi to you.